Until this most recent uproar, the NFL's bad press usually involved labor disputes that could keep teams off the field. The last time that happened was 3 years ago when current NFL Players Association head DeMaurice Smith helped negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement that ended the league's nearly 5-month lockout of the players. Now Smith and Commissioner Roger Goodell are working together to solve a number of problems the league is facing. The League of the Union this week agreed to a new drug testing and substance abuse policy that promises to test for human growth hormone and shorten some current player suspensions. And in a letter to teams Friday, Commissioner Roger Goodell stated that educational programs for all 32 teams will begin within the next 30 days on preventing domestic abuse and sexual violence. As Goodell said in his press conference, all league staff will also receive training. That said, the league and union disagree on one big thing: the new indefinite suspension Goodell gave former Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice after, of course, the video of him knocking his then fiancée unconscious was published online on September 8th. The NFLPA appealed the suspension Tuesday. Smith told CBS Sports, quote, "The union has an obligation to defend the rights of its members, and we not only take that obligation seriously, but when we look at the facts and reach a determination that there are appropriate grounds to appeal any decision, any disciplinary decision, that is the role of the union. That is the duty of the union, and we really don't shy away from that role at all." We should also note that Smith was not at that Goodell press conference yesterday, but that the commissioner said he would meet with Smith next week to begin evaluation of the league's policies. So how might it have helped if the players' union head did a joint presser with the commissioner yesterday? Helpful? Hurtful?
I don't think anything would have. No one was going to be served being on that dais with Roger Goodell yesterday. I mean, I think the reason why Roger Goodell is in this situation and why the NFL is in the situation it's in today is because of Roger Goodell. He made a very specific and calculated decision when he was negotiating with the NFLPA a few years ago that he was going to oversee all discipline. He was going to be the arbiter of that discipline. There was not going to be an independent body to come in and rule either for or against the players. And because of that, he instituted that very weak 2-game suspension against Ray Rice initially, and it's all sort of barreled out from there. So he has only himself to blame for this entire situation. And I've always been extremely uncomfortable with the power that he wielded because it's very rare. The other sports leagues don't have that system in place.
Right.
Time magazine put him on the cover a few years ago saying the enforcer, and he projected himself as this sort of this moral arbitrator of the league, when in fact he's representing a league that's morally vacant.
So you just said the keyword power, and Chester, I want to bring you in on this point. As a former player rep for the union, what are some steps the union could take to help with not just the short-term crisis, but to make sure that none of this happens again?
Before I address the union, I have to address morally vacant. There have been some issues.
Address it, please.
Yeah. I'm a former player. I played a very long time in this league. I had one issue one time that was completely taken care of and expunged off my record. It happens. I could have said nothing happened, but full disclosure. There are a small number of people that are finding a way to not do things correctly. There are a ton of guys, and when I say a ton of guys, a lot of guys are my friends. I know them. I play with them a very long time, spend a lot of time around these guys. They are good guys. They are good people. They are good human beings. So to say morally vacant, I kind of have to reply to that. I got to respond.
No, absolutely. I meant the league. I meant the way Goodell runs the league and the way in which he tries to say, oh, well, I'm going to discipline players because, you know, we have sort of a moral code here that can't tarnish the shield. And then
I get what you're saying.
But, you know, and actually, I agree with you. I think it is, by and large, really unfair, generally speaking, that the majority of players are law-abiding citizens. They aren't they aren't committing crimes. I mean,
they go above and beyond when it comes to charitable work and charitable giving and giving back. Look at our numbers compared to the rest of the population.
Okay, but I want to get back to the union.
Sorry, that's how we
So what should be the role of the union in this process?
Well, their statement that they gave out the 8th was a very strong statement. That's why I've really been, a fan of DeMaurice, just because of his energy and the way he believes in protecting the players with vigor. But that's the job of the union. That's your responsibility. If you're a person and you get in trouble somehow, some way, and you hire an attorney, guess what? you are completely innocent, you've done nothing wrong, and it's that attorney's job to make sure that you come out as squeaky clean as you can. That's the role, that's the responsibility. I'm not saying that everybody and every time that you are innocent or that you haven't done anything wrong, but at the end of the day, the union's job is to fight for you like nobody's business to make sure the best outcome for you and your situation happens.
Well, it's interesting now that the commissioner is in hot water, that now he wants like this cooperation from the union, and because I mean this is something that like he's intentionally tried to congeal all this power to himself, and it sort of speaks to the arrogance of the NFL and Roger Goodell, that they say, well, you know, the law is a really complicated thing. Like, people go to school, and then people have to take a test to, like, pass, and, like, and these laws differ by state. And, like, Roger Goodell was essentially saying, hey, look, I can handle it all here. Like, in addition to leading the league and trying to make money for my owners, I'm going to do that too. And like now you're just seeing sort of like the problem with that arrogance, that like this is really difficult, and maybe from the beginning he should have involved the union and worked with them to come up with a CBA that would allow them to have a voice in dispensing this discipline.
Make no mistake, this is a negative situation for the league, and it's certainly definitely a negative for the Players Association.
Let's just put up something just to reveal this. There's a recent NBC Marist poll that shows that 53% disapprove of the NFL's handling of recent reports of domestic violence. 29% believe Commissioner Goodell should resign, but 85% say recent news hasn't changed the amount of football they're going to watch. So there's a public perception problem, even though viewers aren't going to stop watching, but they believe that Goodell needs to go.
Well, this is why it's a chess game, right? I mean, that's what they've been doing all along, is trying to calculate how bad will the hit be. That comes to sponsors, it comes to Goodell, it comes to the union, everyone. I mean, I would just say, though, you know, even though this is a terrible situation for everyone involved, you can't tell me that the guys in the union aren't secretly sort of, or, you know, saying, you know what?
Is that true?
If there could be any sort of win-win for us here, you know, behind the scenes anyway, this isn't a bad deal because of what we've been talking about.
Does this set the union up for more leverage in the next collective bargaining agreement negotiations?
I think everything that goes out into the public, and if you have the right attorney and you have smart people behind you, pretty much every word that is said somehow, some way can be used against you later. I mean, how many times have you heard, if you get into hot water, keep your mouth shut and don't say anything, because anything that you can say can be used against you later.
Right. No, you want to get on this.
I mean, we're talking about like what the league thinks about this and the numbers that are rolling in. Just think about the fact that earlier this week, Cowboys owner, general manager, and head coach in absentia, Jerry Jones, was in the United Kingdom and said, I think things are going so well that we're going to be able to expand to have a team in London someday. Wow. Like, that's how worried these guys are. Like, that's how out of touch they sort of are with what's going on here.
So one thing I learned back when I got to spend a lot of time with the owners when we were going through that the collective bargaining agreement with the lockout and everything, the owners, they don't think about things a day from today, a week from today. No, they think about things 10 years down the road. They're the longest-term thinking individuals and smartest businessmen I have ever seen or ever been associated with. And out in Texas, I know a lot of guys with a lot of money that have done very well, but that crew of NFL owners, that's the way they think. So just what's happening right now, and as high as the temperatures are right now, and as much as inflammatory as this situation is, what did they say? The sea will calm, the storms will go away. It's a part of it. It happens.
Well, I'm glad you said the seas will calm, because I'm not so sure about that. Up next, a blistering new report reveals just how much the league's leadership knew about the Ray Rice case and when they knew it.